Hello and welcome back to the Wrestling Group on YouTube. Today we are doing our latest rankings video. It is top 5 AJ Styles matches from his career, not just through any particular company. So AJ Styles for me is definitely one of the GOATs in wrestling. So obviously GOAT gets thrown around a lot in terms of wrestling. Greatest of all time, that's what it stands for. But AJ Styles, without doubt, is definitely up there as one of the best ever to do it. Doesn't matter what company he's been in, he's always been a top star. You look at TNA, without the likes of AJ Styles, the X Division wouldn't have been a massive hit back in the day. Obviously then moving up to the world title scene, he was fantastic there too. Into Ring of Honor with the Pure Championship, he done well there. Done about 2 years in New Japan and had some of the best New Japan matches. And then obviously over into WWE in 2016, and his first 2 to 3 years in WWE were absolutely brilliant. So yeah, AJ definitely for me is one of the greatest of all times in the ring. And with AJ, I've been watching him since I'd say about 2004, 2005. Come across TNA. I used to stay at my dad's once a week, and he had Sky, and he used to have the wrestling channel on Sky, and late at night he used to be able to watch TNA, and used to be able to watch Ring of Honor. So that's where I found the likes of AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Samoa Joe, CM Punk, the likes of them, obviously outside of the normal WWE. But I've always followed AJ's career, no matter where he's gone. I've always obviously watched to find out, especially what AJ's doing. Managed to meet him a few years ago, thanks to the company that's no longer around anymore, 5 Star Wrestling. I know a lot of people give it a lot of hate, and to be honest with you, I understand it. But with that 5 Star Wrestling, there's some wrestlers who wouldn't have been able to meet, and AJ Styles is one of them. Especially with him then going on to WWE about a week or two after. AJ for me is definitely up there in the greatest of all time wrestlers, and the chance to be able to meet him and get a photo with him was just absolutely fantastic. So 5 stars still, although I get why people don't like it. It'll always be a special thing for me, like say, to be able to meet the likes of AJ and Jay Lethal, Nick Aldis and Carlito, the likes of them. So anyway, AJ Styles, top 5 greatest matches of all time. Not just one company. I mean, to be honest with you, he's been going now for what, 2 decades nearly, or about 2 decades. So you could easily do top 5 WWE matches, top 5 Ring of Honor matches, top 5 New Japan matches, top 5 TNA matches. I mean, I think AJ Styles is one of the very few people that could probably do a top 50, even a top 100 matches, because he is that good. So for the last few days, I've watched as many AJ Styles matches as I can, rewatching loads to be able to work out my top 5. And then it was through rewatching the matches that I've watched. So I think I watched about 30 matches altogether. It really looked at his career as to like who's who of wrestling. Like the people he's faced in wrestling is just absolutely remarkable. From like legends like Kurt Angle, Sting, Christopher Daniels, and then he's faced like obviously Samoa Joe, Kazuchika Okada, Tanahashi, Suzuki, Ibushi, and then over in like WA, Seth Rollins, John Cena, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Daniel Bryan, and obviously Bryan Danielson back in Ring of Honor too. CM Punk, he's absolutely a who's who of wrestling. Jushin Thunder Liger, Rey Mysterio. There's just so many iconic names and wrestlers that he's faced. It's it's not surprising that it is hard to make a top 5. I wanted to mainly keep it to top 5 instead of top 10 or 20 or anything else, basically to keep the video short. But like I say, could have easily done top 5 for every company he's been in. The John Cena trilogy was brilliant. The Roman Reigns trilogy was great. The match against Brock Lesnar was great. And that's just WA alone. But yeah, so we're going top 5, so we'll go 5 down to 1, same as always, ranking obviously number 5 being his fifth best match, and then number 1 being the greatest match he's ever had in wrestling, in my opinion. So as always, let me know your opinions, give me a comment and let me know, do you agree with my top 5 AJ Styles matches? Is there any that shouldn't be in here? Is there any that should be in here? Always love feedback, and I always love people tell me what their top 5 are as well. So just quick shout out to David Anderson, as always, for doing me the thumbnail. An absolute phenomenal thumbnail, if you like, you know, fantastic as always. He does great work for me. As soon as I message him, it's only a matter of a few hours before he has something for me, and it's always perfect. It always fits exactly what I need to. And a little shout out to Corbin as well, because he's let me use his New Japan account so I can go back and watch AJ Styles' best matches in New Japan. So yeah, so thank you to those two guys, and now we will get into it. So I've gone for number 5, which might be a surprise to a lot of people, but like I say, rewatching reminded me just how good some of the matches were. Because obviously when you think top 5, if you the reason why I want to go back and rewatch them is some of them you might not remember being as good as what they were. You know, if you go, well, AJ Styles, and you say it to like a WWE fan, they're going to straight away pick out the 3 against John Cena, the one against Lesnar, the one against Daniel Bryan on SmackDown, you know. But I've gone back and I've rewatched so many AJ Styles matches, and, you know, like I say, number 5 might be a shock, but I believe it should be in here. So AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels. Now, Christopher Daniels is again another fantastic wrestler for me. Should have been TNA World Champion, and I'll never understand why they never put the belt on him. But, you know, when they finally decided to put them together as a team, say finally, it was about, 2006, but they teamed together, didn't they? So when I started watching TNA, my top 2 favourite wrestlers in TNA was AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels. So when they became a team and they started tag teaming together, that was just like absolutely fantastic for me. It was like the best thing ever. You know, seeing the two guys that are basically tuned in mainly for tag teaming together and then becoming tag team champions was just fantastic. So I've gone for No Surrender in 2006. It's AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels versus LAX in a Ultimate X match for the NWA Tag Team Championships. I'd say it might be a little bit of a surprise to some, but go back and watch this match, you know, especially if you're a fan like I am of AJ Styles and Daniels being tag team together. This is by far the best match that they had as a tag team. You know, and going against LAX is a fantastic team in TNA. You know, Homicide and Hernandez were just brilliant together, and then obviously later on they had Santana and Ortiz, but you know, it is a great match. And Ultimate X matches, I mean, I could have done a top 5 Ultimate X matches as well. I probably will do at some point, and I'd imagine AJ Styles are probably in most, if not all of them. But, you know, just seeing it as a tag as well, it was the first time that the tag titles were defended in an Ultimate X match, you know, so it was something a bit different. And just the way they work together as the team was great. You know, and then we had obviously with LAX, they're not normally guys that you'd see climbing up the ropes to get across to the middle to get the titles. So they went and got the ladder out the ring and tried to climb the ladder to get the belts, and obviously that didn't work out. And then at one point we did have Hernandez on the ropes when AJ Styles was up there, and he brings him down with a cutter. You know, a great moment. You know, and we get Homicide being... Was it Homicide or was it Hernandez? No, it was Hernandez again. Hernandez got Styles Clash through the table, off the ring apron through the table, you know, another great moment. And then we have Conan coming with the kendo stick, attacking Christopher Daniels, and Daniels manages to get up and climbs on top of the top part, and then jumps into the middle, so he's like, gets down, gets the tag belt, and they regain the tag team championship. So, I'd say a lot of people might not have thought of this one, or might not agree with it, but I'm telling you, it's on YouTube, it's free on YouTube. Have a look, go back, rewatch it. I think it's an absolutely brilliant match. Like I say, LAX is one of the best teams in TNA history. If you go back and you look at my top tag teams in Impact, that's on here. My rankings, they're in there. You know, and like say AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels, for me, absolutely, I loved them going against each other, and I absolutely loved them as a tag team. So for me, number 5 is AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels versus LAX No Surrender 2006 Ultimate X Tag Team Titles match. So that takes us to number 4, which is AJ Styles versus Minoru Suzuki in the G1 Climax. Again, this is another match where, you know, I remember it being a great match, but I don't remember just how great it was until I rewatched it. I mean, I only rewatched it about an hour or so ago, and you know, it was fantastic. I love Suzuki. Suzuki's brilliant. If I ever do a top 5 or top 10 New Japan wrestlers, I'm pretty sure Minoru Suzuki would be in there. He's just great, isn't he? And then obviously we had AJ Styles, who was fully fledged in the Bullet Club at that point. He was the first Bullet Club leader to be, or Bullet Club member, to be the IWGP heavyweight champion. And so, you know, and they go into it pretty even as well, which is good. You know, both have 6 points, both get 3 wins and 2 losses. So, you know, it's all eyes on them. And it was interesting to see. Obviously back in the days of Bullet Club, AJ Styles actually getting booed, because that doesn't happen a lot. Even as a heel, he doesn't tend to really get booed so much. But you know, in Japan it's different, isn't it? Like they're not really a fan of Bullet Club, and they're not really a fan of the heel tactics and stuff. So, and then obviously you get to the point in the middle of the match, like every Suzuki match, where you know they go blow for blow with the elbows, which is just brilliant. You know, we get Suzuki countering a Styles clash into an ankle lock. You know, there's so much in it. You know, Suzuki's constantly trying to tap out AJ Styles, you know, and if he'd have tapped him out, it'd have been absolutely mind-blowing to see someone tap out the world champion in a G1. But yeah, he was fully into his New Japan run this time. Fully confident in the work he was doing, and again he's facing so many big names, so many legends. You know, he'd lost 2 matches in the G1 leading up to this, which was against Tetsuya Naito, which could have easily been in there, and the match against Okada in G1 could have easily been in there. And like I say, there's that many matches that unfortunately just haven't got space for them all, with only doing 5. But the one against Suzuki was absolutely brilliant. And you know, it takes him in the end 2 Styles clashes to beat Suzuki. You know, the first one, to be fair, he didn't go for the pin straight after, because Suzuki had been working on his arm with a Gucci Katari armbar. So you know, he put the work in on his arm. So then obviously after he hits the Styles clash, you know, Styles is shaking it off and stuff and doesn't get the pin, and then they end up going for another brawl, elbows, fists, you know, Pele kick, the lot. And then we get the second Styles clash of the match, which ends up getting AJ Styles the win. You know, we get a point in the match as well where Red Shoes ends up getting knocked down. So you know, we get Suzuki Goon coming in attacking AJ, and then we get Bullet Club coming out to attack Suzuki Goon. Obviously, you know, you get Killer Elite coming out from Suzuki Goon, which is obviously Archer and Smith, and then they all end up going into the back. So it was good to be able to just have that little part in the match to be able to clear anyone from outside, because I mean, sometimes interference can help matches, sometimes can't half like make a match worse. It can really disappoint, especially if it's the first time, like this was the first time they were facing in singles competition. You don't want screwy finishes and stuff like that, which we didn't get, because luckily enough, like I say, they all attacked each other and then buggered off, which was good. So number 4, AJ Styles versus Suzuki in the G1 Climax. Which takes number 3, which is AJ Styles versus Kazuchika Okada, Dominion 2015 IWGP Heavyweight Championship. So Okada and AJ Styles, like, you know, it's like Omega and Styles, isn't it? Like every match is just a banger, every match is a killer. You could easily just rank your top favourite AJ versus Okada matches. You know, there was a good few of them, wasn't there, when he was in New Japan for them 2 years. But I've gone with the Dominion one, which I think was the last time they faced in Japan, and it was like I say, for the world title. You know, again, any of them could have been in there. The match at G1, The one where they had the match at Kingdom, they had the match at New Beginning. You know, there's so many matches there, Okada and Styles, where could have easily been this, but the Dominion one for me is the best one. Like I said, I watched them quite close together to be able to compare them together to see which one was better, and I've gone for the one Dominion, which Okada takes the win at the very end. I think it ends up being 3 Rainmakers. Don't quote me on that, but I'm sure this was the one which took 3 Rainmakers to be able to get Okada to get the win. And so obviously Styles is the champ going into the match, and Okada is the champ coming out. You know, we even get a Rainmaker reversed, and then he hits Okada with a Pele kick, which was just a great move. Like, he blocks the Rainmaker, ducks underneath the Rainmaker, and then hits him with a Pele kick, which was brilliant. You know, there's so many good moves. You know, there's points where they're going outside the ring. We have Bullet Club's literally surrounding the ring, and they get involved and start attacking Okada. So then Red Shoes is getting him up the ramp, like the whole of Bullet Club, literally. You know, the Young Bucks, Gallows and Anderson, the lot of them, he's pushing them all up, and they're all kicking off and giving it beans. And you look at Red Shoes, and he's only this little small fella, and he's like literally telling the whole of Bullet Club to get into the back. And then he turns around to AJ Styles and he tells AJ Styles to suck it. He goes, AJ! I was just like, that is just brilliant. Just a little bit of humour put in such a serious world title match. But it works so well, you know. And the guys, you know, the Bucks, especially Gallows and Anderson, you know, they sold so well that, you know, it wasn't just a case of, well, what are you going to do if it don't go in the back? And it's not a case of like in some companies where they have like about 15 security guards or referees come from the back and have to push everyone up. Like, as soon as Red Shoes was like that, getting in the back, they were like, oh no, I can't believe it. And they all went into the back, which is just great. It just works so well. But yeah, like I say, any of the Styles versus Okada matches could have been in the top 5, but I've gone for the one at Dominion where Okada takes back the world title and Okada takes back New Japan, if you like. But again, another fantastic match, and if you haven't seen it yet, it's on New Japan World. Get it checked out. So we'll go for, that was number 3. Number 2 is AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, Wrestle Kingdom 10 for the IC Championship, the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. That belt, I miss that belt so much. The white with the gold. Oh, what a belt! And then they had to retire it, didn't they? And then they retired the other world title and give us the butterfly strap. But go into belt designs, but that's a terrible belt compared to the 2 that they had. And I think since letting the IC title go, I think they've suffered in the mid card. I know they've got the US, but half the time that ends up in the US, and the Never Openweight just is never going to be on the level of the IC. And you know, and you think the amount of amazing matches for the IC title and the amount of amazing champions as well, all that history and everything's just gone now, which is really unfortunate. Like, Nakamura is a great Intercontinental champion, Naito is absolutely one of the best. You know, again, Kota Ibushi, there's so many big names tied to that title and the history, and it's a shame it's gone now. You know, Jay White again, another big name. But this match, you know, it's no surprise when Nakamura is already in WWE and then AJ Styles come along. It was no surprise that WWE wanted to do their own take on this, because it is deemed to be one of the greatest matches of all time. And if you haven't seen it, and I can't believe there's anyone out there watching this AJ Styles video that hasn't seen that match, but if you haven't, not the WWE one, the New Japan one, the Wrestle Kingdom one, go and watch it now. Like, literally stop this video, go and watch it, then come back and carry on watching, because it's such a good match. And it only just slightly missed out on my number 1 spot, because it is that good. And it's the whole spectacle of it. You know, they're both of the entrances, you know, obviously AJ being in Bullet Club, you know, doing the old gun pose that he does, and then Nakamura takes the bullet, it catches the bullet in his teeth and takes it out. It's obviously there's no real bullet, but it's just the whole spectacle of it, and and Nakamura in New Japan was just next level. I was always made up when he went over to WE. And he was great in NXT. They done really well. Like that match against Sami Zayn's one of my favourite NXT matches of all time. And it's just a shame. He never amounted to anything in the main leagues. Like, he shouldn't be stuck in the mid card. He should be up there in the main event. Which obviously I was always worried that Styles might end up that way as well. But WWE have done right by AJ Styles. I mean, WWE do get knocked on a lot, and they, to be fair to their own doing, they do make mistakes with a lot of people. But AJ hasn't done too much in the last couple of years, team with Omos and stuff, but his first initial run in the company in 2016, 2017 was superb. But I mean, it was just disappointing that it didn't work out to be. It was a decent match, but that low blow thing at the end was just awful, and it just led into a load of crap. But it's the same with Styles and Samoa Joe. They've had so many fantastic matches in different companies, and it just didn't really amount to much in WWE, which is a shame. But like I say, the WWE really have done quite well with Styles. But I mean, for me, AJ Styles, when I think of AJ Styles, it's funny because when I do think of AJ, I think of AJ Styles, I think of TNA. Like, ultimately, straight away, that's the first thing. It's probably the first thing I've seen him in, and he was there for so many years. But if you go back and you look at the quality of matches, his quality of matches in TNA were great. But for me, like, his best couple of years in his career was in New Japan. And it was back then when I started first to look at New Japan, mainly just because AJ Styles was there. I didn't know anyone else that was there. They were all obviously legends in their own right, but I wasn't watching them. I didn't know New Japan was really a thing. I just heard people talk about Japanese wrestling. It was like Chris Jericho. I used to wrestle in Japan in like the 90s, and Eddie Guerrero the same, and Chris Benoit the same. So it was just never a thing I actually thought was still going until literally AJ went in 2013, 2014. He was in New Japan, and it was back when he used to get the wrestling magazines. That's how long ago it was. He used to buy the wrestling magazines, and I think, did he come? I'm not sure if he come PWI top 500. I think come number 1, possibly number 2 when he was in New Japan. And then I was like, oh, hang on, what's this? Where's he gone? Because obviously I was watching TNA and he'd left, and then I didn't know where he was. And then all of a sudden he's getting first or second. I can't remember now. I think it might have been first place on the top 500, and I'm like, well, where is he to be able to do this? And then obviously I read the biography, and it was saying about New Japan. So that's when I started looking online to find this company, New Japan, and I started watching it. So I did watch a lot of AJ Styles stuff in New Japan, but I've gone back and rewatched it. Like, I started watching New Japan for a while, and then the whole Okada Kenny Omega thing become a thing. So I started watching it again, and obviously Chris Jericho come over, and every so often there's loads of eyes back on Japan, so you keep dipping in and out. Like, for the last how many years I've always kept up to date on them. But like, having New Japan World and having the chance to obviously go back and rewatch some of the stuff, like, I'll probably say the 2 best years in AJ Styles' career has been in Japan, and it's no surprise that in my top 5 AJ Styles list there's 3 matches from New Japan Wrestling. And like I say, if you haven't watched any of them, if you don't watch New Japan, or if you haven't watched any New Japan, go and watch these 3 matches. If you don't watch anything else to do with New Japan, fine. Watch the match against Suzuki, watch the match against Okada, and definitely watch AJ Styles versus Nakamura, Wrestle Kingdom 10. You will not be disappointed. Obviously, it was for the IWGP IC title. Nakamura gets the win, but honest to God, fantastic match. It's one of them matches that I can just rewatch and rewatch. There's only a few matches that I could say I would gladly rewatch every month for the rest of my life, and this is one of them. And another one is number 1 on our list, but I'll give you a quick rundown again from 5 down to now. So we got 5, like I say, it might be a surprising one to some, but if you go back and rewatch it, you'll probably understand why it's in there. AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels versus LAX No Surrender 2006 for the NWA Tag Team titles in a Ultimate X match. Number 4 is AJ Styles versus Minoru Suzuki in the G1 Climax, I think 2014. Number 3, AJ Styles versus Kazuchika Okada in Dominion 2015 for the IWGP Heavyweight Championship. Number 2 is AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura at Wrestle Kingdom 10 for the IWGP Intercontinental Championship. And if you are an AJ Styles fan at all, if you are a TNA fan, if you are a fan of wrestling, like, you have to know this is number 1. This should be number 1 on everyone's list. This is the greatest match in TNA history. This is probably my second ever favourite match in wrestling history. And it is AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe versus Christopher Daniels, Unbreakable 2005 for the X Division Championship. Now, this is just absolutely mind-blowing to me. This match is one match I will probably say I could watch every single day for the rest of my life. Every day, not just every month. It's fantastic. It's a 10 out of 10 match. I don't know what Dave the Melt, what he rated it. I don't know. I've never looked, to be honest. But if he's give it anything less than 5 stars, then it shows you there you shouldn't be listening to him. And if you haven't seen it, somehow haven't managed to see this match, go and check it out. It is on YouTube in full. The full match is on YouTube. You can go and watch it, or if you've got Impact monthly, it's on there through obviously the pay-per-views and that. But you know, they've had some great matches over the years. They had the rematch. Was it Turning Point? They had the rematch. You know, another great match, another one that easily could have made this list. But, you know, like I say, when I started watching TNA, it was probably around 2005. You know, AJ Styles was one of my favourite wrestlers. Christopher Daniels was one of my favourite wrestlers. Samoa Joe, you know, absolutely one of my favourite wrestlers, an absolute talent. And luckily enough, like I said before, I got to meet AJ Styles a couple of years ago. I got to meet Christopher Daniels too when Ring of Honor come over. And the only one I haven't managed to meet is Samoa Joe. And I always say it's mad, isn't it, to think like the only like target I have in wrestling for meet and greets is to meet the Three from Unbreakable 2005. That's how I see it, is the Three from Unbreakable in 2005, because it is for me the second greatest match in wrestling history, and it's definitely the greatest match in TNA history. Just the three absolute talents. It was just non-stop. And when you think of the X Division, you can't not think of the X Division and not think of AJ, Christopher, and obviously Samoa Joe. I think they are the 3 top guys in the X Division. And to be honest with you, at the time in like 2005, 2006, like the X Division for me was much more exciting than the world title scene. Much more exciting. But it showed me a different style of wrestling as well that I wasn't used to, compared to obviously what WE was putting on at the time. You know, they deemed this style of wrestling just for your cruiserweights, if you like. You know, your small guys, your Rey Mysterios, and your Paul Londons and your Brian Kendricks and your Tajiris and Jamie Nobles, all the small guys, they were doing this sort of stuff. And even if you go back to WCW, but you know, the X Division was that style of wrestling, but for anyone could do it. Like the speed and the power that Samoa Joe has. I mean, Samoa Joe is fantastic, and even if you watch him now in Ring of Honor as television champion, he's still brilliant. But if you go back and watch him back in 2005, 2006, 2007, you know, he's a lot quicker and he's a lot meaner. Like some of the moves and the way he could move around the ring. Like if you look at Samoa Joe, especially when you look at Daniels and you look at Styles, they're of a similar build. But like Samoa Joe just shows in this match he can keep up with them. Like he shouldn't be able to really physically, should he? He shouldn't be able to keep up with them, but you know he does. And again, it's just one of them matches I could just rewatch over and over again. So, and like say, if you're an AJ Styles fan and if you've been watching AJ Styles like I have now for what, nearly two decades I've been watching AJ. It'll be no surprise this is number 1. Like for me, this, as soon as I thought, do you know what, I wanted to do an AJ Styles one, because like I say, I've been watching him for that long now, and it just makes sense. And I didn't want to stick it to one company, because I think AJ Styles, you can't define AJ Styles as one company, because of he's been world champion in literally every company he's been in, apart from Ring of Honor. And so when you think of AJ Styles, you think of different companies, don't you? So I didn't want to just keep it to the one company. And for me, you can't have a top 5 AJ Styles without having this match in. This match is absolutely fantastic. It's perfect. It's a 10 out of 10. Like, if you haven't watched it for some reason, just watch it now. But yeah, so that's my AJ Styles top 5. And like I say, as always, let me know in the comments, do you agree with my top 5? Do you disagree? Is there any matches that you think have missed out? Is there any that should replace any? Is it the same matches but in a different order? Whatever it is, let me know in the comments. Yeah, so that's it. That's my top 5 AJ Styles greatest matches of all time. Keep an eye out, coming soon on our YouTube channel. There will be more WWE 2K23 as long as I can get it sorted, because I had a problem with my creative community. It just wasn't letting me download stuff, so I've completely scrapped the game. I've deleted everything and I've re-downloaded it. I'm in the middle of it's literally installing there on the TV. I would show you, but I'll probably break my camera. It's installing at the moment, so as long as you can get that up and running, we'll have more WWE 2K23 matches, especially considering my Bloodline versus Blackpool Combat Club has gone past 1,200 views. Like, that is just mind-blowing. So thank you very much to anyone that's watched that match. To go that many in a short space of time, I think it's 2-3 weeks now, is just absolutely brilliant. It's my highest view video so far on YouTube. So I will have more of them coming up. I'll have more rankings videos. The rankings videos are doing quite well. Up and down at the moment on some of the views. If you haven't checked any of them out yet, there's so many I've started. Go back and watch. If you've enjoyed this one, go and watch my other ones. So I'll have another one announced at some point next week. And I'll have more wrestling figure unboxing videos as I still make my way through my ever-growing collection to see if I can get them all unboxed and get them on the walls. And I'll be looking at other wrestling related content to be putting on this YouTube channel over the next few weeks. I am 3 subscribers away from 100, which I'm very happy with. So if you're watching this video and you haven't yet subscribed and you like what you've seen, give me a little subscribe. Let me see if I can get to 100 by the end of the week. So thank you as always to anyone that's ever watched any of my videos, and keep an eye out. I've got loads more wrestling related content coming for the rest of the year. So thank you and see you soon.